I'm Diego Cordovez with Adam Schoenfeld. Thanks for joining us on The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. We've got Barry Greenstein for the conclusion of our interview with him, part 2.
Don't hold back this time. I felt like you were too reserved.
And maybe Barry was too reserved. Barry's always very open and honest, so we're going to try and keep him here as long as we can and continue with what he was talking about yesterday. If you missed part 1, it's on Card Player TV in the Scoop page. Well, what happened with those two who were?
Well, he took two good players, Sorel Mizzi and Justin Bonomo, and quickly, I had a free roll like 13 of the first 14 events we played, and I cashed in a few of them. I made fourth in one of them, and Brian, he lost on it, and then he gave it up. And although he told me that it didn't look good for him because I always had a free roll. I was down there and I made the second day of every single tournament I think we bet on, so I always had a chance.
Right.
And they often were out early, but he said part of it was he wasn't really having fun with it, that he doesn't follow the tournaments that much, and so he thought it was going to make it an interesting sweat for him, but it didn't work out that way. So he just wrote to me, he says, okay, if I get out of it, he said, you won, do you mind if I quit? And so right now what Brian and I are doing, we're cross-booking each other when he does play. He'll be playing the pot limit Omaha 10,000, and I think there was one other he said he was going to play, I don't know what it was, and then the main event. And we'll have like cross-books. I think we're doing 100% cross-book, but maybe with 150,000 cap. Whereas when I was cross-booking with Justin and Sorel, it was a 10%
straight
cross-book, but no cap. And so I'm never trying to high-roll anyone. I just always think in gambling, the way I grew up, talk is cheap. If you're going to say to me that I'm no good, then bet me.
Right. You famously started a series against Daniel of freeze-outs in different games. And then I heard, weren't you also promoting a freeze-out against all-comers or another freeze-out?
No, I never did that.
No?
Daniel was
taking on all-comers.
Daniel was taking all-comers, and I played Daniel. And again, I felt I had an edge on Daniel. And, it's not clear if I was right because he made a mistake playing me stud twice. We had a condition that if someone beats you at a game, that they could play it again, and I thought Daniel ran real good the first stud, so it gave him the illusion that he might be the favorite. But it was clear to me that he wasn't. And the second time, I beat him pretty. As a matter of fact, I beat him so badly the second time that I was underplaying lots of hands to try to get a third match in stud.
This is the metagame.
We had about 3 or 4. Yeah, we had about 3 or 4 times where I wasn't re-raising with big pairs, trying to keep him in the game and then raising on the river sometimes make it look like I drew out, that type of stuff. Because I had a good enough edge. I just play a lot more stud than Daniel. He kind of got it. It was unfortunate for me that he had a good stud player sweating him, Boston. And as much as I tried to hide it, when he asked Alan Boston how close he thought the match was, Alan told me later, he told Daniel, you're drawing dead. And,
Alan's quite frank.
Yeah, Alan's quite frank, so that was bad for me. I made a mistake allowing anyone to sweat him, actually. Then we went on to stud 8 or better. Now, Daniel claims that's his best game. Daniel beat me, but he made so many straights on the river. I didn't feel like I was outclassed there either. Daniel feels like he was, and he wins the argument because he won. He won. Whoever wins it. And the same thing at
the winners write history.
That's right. The winner. And we had a difference of opinion on pot limit Omaha. He beat me at that. Well, it ended up in 4 matches. 2 of them were studs. I won. He won pot limit Omaha, and he won stud 8. But we ended up even money wise. And then Daniel discontinued his.
His race with the
win.
This was part of promoting the win.
Yeah, actually. I did beat him money-wise because we also were cross-booking the tournaments at the time. And again, this is one of the things about stamina. I actually made some final tables and did real well in the World Series that year also, cross-booking Daniel. Like we had a small percentage cross-book. I won, and he had his worst World Series that he's ever had, at which he credited to the fact that he wasn't used to playing outside of the tournaments. We had a deal. If we both got knocked out before 6 o'clock, we'd meet at the Win and play.
Right.
We did that. And here's the funny thing. We would play then until about 2 or 3 in the morning. When I was done with Daniel, I would go to the Bellagio and finish up playing there and maybe get an hour or 2 of sleep, often my sleep would be the days that I didn't play Daniel during the dinner break or something. And I think one of the times I'd average ships at the dinner break and slept through the tournament because my alarm didn't go off.
Is this from your days as a programmer where you just developed this immense stamina? Because, I mean, you're not 22 years old anymore and you just don't need sleep.
I have a lot of stamina. I think it's important to be a good poker player. Doyle Brunson's super strong also. Because if you have that stamina, it means you can think at a high level for long periods of time. I did work 17 hours a day every day for more than a year as a programmer also. I was a professional poker player first, so it's really, if you want to go, which came first. I've been a professional poker player since I was 12 years old. People often pretend that I was a programmer first, but that's not the truth. I took that job to get custody of my kids because I didn't think I could get them as a poker player. But I was an athlete. I was very strong. And
you were a wrestler.
I was a wrestler. I was a golfer. I was a baseball player, a decent tennis player. A lot of sports. I played well, and probably part of it is I think probably most of it is just genetics and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I think a good part of it is I don't do drugs. I never did drugs. I don't drink. People I mentioned that. One of the other things, I've actually never even had a beer in my life. Okay, I've never had a cup of coffee in my life.
I'll get you one.
Yeah. They asked me if I want a cup. I've never even had a cup of coffee in my life because some of those stimulants and those things that are possibly addicting, I never got into it. I didn't want anything to do anything addicting, and once I didn't do them, and I saw that other people weren't as strong as me, it gave me more reason not to do them. And I always believed, even when I was a programmer, people would stay up and have all these cups of coffee to stay up. Or as a poker player, I'd see people taking speed, to stay up multiple days, and I could stay up with them without doing these drugs, speed or caffeine, and I don't know if philosophy is the right word because I think it's stronger than that, but my belief was that my body was strong because I didn't do anything to hurt it.
Diego's like you, he's abstemious. I, on the other hand, have like 8 Red Bulls and an Adderall to get out of bed.
If Red Bull's looking for an endorser, you're a possibility.
And Adderall.
But as everyone knows, once you become dependent on those, you require more and more of them because your body's building more resistance. So if you stay at the same level of consumption, you're actually getting weaker. And if you try to quit, it's going to take a while just to rebuild your own natural strength. It's a really deadly kind of spiral that you fall into if you depend on amphetamines or even on Red Bull.
A funny side note, you guys know I'm on the competition committee at the World Series, and I suggested that they have an Ironman tournament where you play straight through. Because all these times when people are whining about we play long hours, I'm thinking, you wimps, you guys are in your 20s and you're that wimpy.
Eat at the table, no breaks, no sleep.
Breaks, play 3 days through till there's a winner. And, I'm over 50 years old, but I'll play with any of them for 3 days and see who comes out on top. And everyone liked it. We had marketing people in the room. They said, that'd be great. We'd have look at all the sponsors we get, not only the normal like Viagra and those kind of things.
Defibrillators.
We would have all the the deodorant. Right? Those guys would want to sponsor it. We would have, of course, coffee companies and
But marketing-wise, it'd be so entertaining.
So was it a liability? They're worried about someone dying?
Well, that's exactly what. Actually, everyone said that's a great idea, and everyone was laughing, joking up, said, "Yeah, Ironman competition, that'd be great." I said, "I'm looking forward to it," because, and then I even threw an extra. I said, as a matter of fact, not only should you have to play for 2 to 3 days straight, but you should have it so first the air conditioning's on, then it gets real hot. Maybe drop a little rain on people. See who's tough.
A lot of noise.
The way I always was when I was young, the way I raised my kids is you got to be tough. So see who can take you. Mike Manasaw ranting at you and Phil Hellmuth saying you can't spell poker. Be able to take all this stuff. Whenever that stuff happens at my table, I laugh because I know it's not going to hurt me. But what happens is exactly that. The lawyer was in the room. And he kills all the fun. The lawyer always kills the fun.
Do.
And he said, well, what if someone gets a heart attack?
Yeah.
That's what releases
Your answer is that's part of the game.
That's
guy
right.
his chips would be blinded off.
I said, yeah, it's not going to be me.
They have an Iditarod. The lawyer's there.
That's right. I said, well, when that 21-year when I drive that 21-year-old kid into the ground, I'll just get an ambulance for him.
Yeah. Well, it's a good segue because we get mail here, and we've actually been saving this email for you, and it relates to all the leaks and all the dependencies and all the issues that people don't think about, which you cover so well in your book, Case on the River, because it's not just about winning at poker. It's the fact that to succeed in poker, you've got to win in every area in order to survive, in order to sustain over time. So I'm going to read this email without his permission.
This is from my letterbox, George Nelson.
From our George Nelson letterbox. It's from first name only, Brandon, Las Vegas, Nevada. And he said, I'm a poker dealer. Many dealers play poker want to play for a living. And, of course, many people just want to play for a living in general. However, most casino employees, especially dealers, drink and gamble, and it's fun, but I can see how it gets out of control. I've got 3 questions for you guys, but I think you would answer much better than us. Do most players have major leaks in their bankrolls due to drinking or drug use? I see people drinking and playing every day, and like I said, it's fun, but I can see the more money you have, the more out of control it can become. 2.
Well, let me answer one
by
at a time.
one,
So
yeah.
let's go with that. I'm going to even name him. When I played when I was in college, there were 2 guys, me and this other guy, who were thought to be the top 2 no-limit players. His name was Jack. But Jack, when he got a hold of money, he would drink and do some drugs and stuff like that and throw a party. And Jack was tough competition for me. Well, Jack, I get to see him once a year because he's a dealer at the World Series of Poker now. And Jack was a great player, and I'd never even say that I was a better player at that time than Jack when he was playing his A game.
Right.
But like a lot of players, it's not what you do with your A game. Because as I was saying, the most money you make is often playing against weaker players than yourself anyway.
Yeah.
But if you have self-destructive tendencies, then you're not going to make it as a poker player. It's just really simple. And not only is there that way to self-destruct with drugs and alcohol, but what I see most players doing is, let's say they find their comfort level, and I'll give numbers on it, limit numbers, like they're 10-20, they're very successful at the 10-20 level. But we see a lot of players that the day they get stuck, they're jumping into the 40-80 to try to get even, and those 10 wins in a row they had at 10-20 are out the window. A couple times they get even, but eventually we know what's going to happen. They're going broke.
Right.
And I've had to lecture several people say, you can't make it as a poker player. And they're saying, what, you don't think I know how to play? I said, I don't even care if you know how to play. But if you have that habit that whenever you're stuck, you got to play in bad games that are big, and you got to play for 24 hours, but when you're winning, you're going to chop out and take your small win. I already know you're going broke. There's just no way around it. So much of winning at poker is not about how you play the cards and your skill level. That's less than 50% for sure.
I think that it's been exacerbated the last couple of years because if you're grinding it out day after day, that process itself forces a certain discipline on you. And some people still can't maintain that discipline, but the nature of the game forces you to show up every day, otherwise you're not going to make any money. But in this kind of tournament world now, you make a big tournament score, it's very easy just to throw a 6-month-long party and then find out that you've used up a lot of the money that you won and really get away even from playing.
Yeah, and as you know, because you read my book, that's one of the bigger mistakes I said as far as making money is not realizing that when there's money to be made, you got to go after it until you are until you're solvent for life. I think you still have to attack. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I've always done, and which leaves me short on cash now, is as I was making money, I always invested. I kind of got it out of my hands, put it in the stock market, put it in real estate or things like that, and I always wanted to feel like I was broke. I tried to keep myself broke for many years, so I felt that I had to stay hungry.
At least illiquid, which is...
Well, where if I lost a couple times, I was out of cash, and I never wanted to have to divest some of that money.
Right.
It's happened at times.
I've done very well with that also.
But most of it is really because of my lifestyle. Like we said, as you get older, you have more expenses.
So second question, really good one. Once you've worked your way up in limits where you win or lose thousands of dollars in a day or win a major score in a tournament, could you still go back to a normal job where you make $35,000 to $50,000 a year or $1,000 a week? Do you feel trapped in your own success?
Well, I think that's difficult, but I think one of the problems that most of the young players and actually their parents have is their definition of success. We have too many people who define success as making money. And I have parents come to me all the time saying, well, my son could have been a successful banker or investment banker or whatever. And I say, the reason your son is doing what he's doing is because you told him success was making money. And what better way for a sharp 18-year-old or 21-year-old kid to make money than to drop out of college, find poker players worse than him, and make money right away? It's an easy way. He doesn't have to build up through the corporate ladder. So I said, you're now coming to me saying your son is obsessed with poker, and I'm telling you it was your fault.
Right.
So that's exactly what's going on there. If you have a definition of success, which I gave my children, not that maybe they all got it, was that success means being happy, being good to people, having a good life. then I always felt the money would come to take care of yourself also. If you were passionate about what you like to do, you will rise to the top of whatever that is. You'll be the best forester or whatever, and then you'll maybe find ways to make enough money to fill your lifestyle. And you look at my son Joe epitomizes that. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to make it as a poker player. I know you guys are going to knock him out there and say, well, he can't, but Joe's a pretty good tournament player. He's not playing as well now because he's involved in poker media.
Right.
But we will be successful there. He will make money there, and Joe can be successful at lots of different things. That's how I raised him. My son Nathaniel's going to, his major's music at Berkeley, okay? It's his passion. I love it when I see my kids passionate about something. But I would hate it if my kids were passionate about making money.
Right.
Then I would feel that I failed as a parent.
Well, when I first met Joe, he made it very clear that even though he'd grown up influenced by your success in poker, that you made it very clear the importance of education, finding other talents, and he worked out in the high-tech business and pursued other interests, and now it's paying off.
He didn't know the rank of hands when he was 27 years old. So, I look at that as
Just where you insert easy joke here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's an easy joke there. Yeah, that's right.
Adam, how old are you?
Yeah, right. No, but the point is, that shows you how much, and I didn't hide poker from my kids. It was just very clear that I had no reason for them to go into it. Right. My kids did ask me that. I get asked by all three of my older boys, when they were over 20, you taught Mimi to play, and Mimi's making all this money. Why wouldn't you do that for your own children?
Right.
And I said, because this is the only way I can see that Mimi can make money. She loves to play poker. This is what her life is. But I have better plans for you guys. I want you guys to do something that is more intrinsically productive than playing poker.
Right. Last question we'll wrap up with, and actually I think this is a fantastic question, and actually the answer to it really is your book in general, but you can elaborate on it. Does it take a specific type of personality to win and lose large sums of money every day, or do you feel anyone could adapt to it?
Well, certainly, as you know in my book, I list personality types and traits and things like that, so I think those are, certain people can do it and certain people can't. But, a flexible person maybe can adapt to it. A person who values money too highly, I don't think could ever be a really good poker player because it would be tough for them. I don't even think about the money. I'm very wasteful. All the players in the big game tend to be big tippers, and we just see a bunch of people who are playing partly for the competition. They want to beat other people, and partly because instead of money looking like it's the important thing because we chase money just being the thing we play the game with. And you really don't count any of it until it comes time to pay the rent or something. Then you realize, I got to take some of the wad out of my pocket. But while you're playing, very rarely. I notice when I played with more business people, they'll see a pot and say, "Hey, you could buy a brand new car with what's in that pot." They think that way, and that probably makes it easier to them when I say, "Okay, well, I'm betting you a brand new car. See if you're going to give up your car right here." I never.
But it's such a fine line because everything you were saying before is so important, which is keeping your life in balance and sensible and having control, while at the same time at the table being able to separate yourself from.
Well, there's no doubt you have to do some separation, and as you know, even as far as in the gambling world, you have to be a little more. It's a little more of a dog-eat-dog type of situation. I'm not a cutthroat gambler. But you still can't let people continually take advantage of you. Whereas in my real life, I think I'm more of a such soft touch because I am able to step out of that person at the poker table, and I do all the time let people take advantage of me away from the poker table.
I plan to after the show.
Right, and I'll lend you another couple hundred.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Barry, thanks a lot for coming by. Continued success with Poker Road, with your own poker tournament triumphs and cash game triumphs, and I think good answers to all these questions, too. We appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, you guys.
Thanks for joining us on The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. Make sure to write us at thescoop@cardplayer.com and join us for the next episode at Card Player TV.
2 bracelets. Awesome.
Well, these aren't easy to win. I remember this one like it was yesterday. My opponent had me down to my left. Sorry. Anyway, it's down to my last few chips. So I had to call.
We play at fulltailpoker.com.